Did you know that sugar is not just an ingredient, but actually it's a medium of art? Intrigued? I certainly hope so. Come with me and let's meet pastry chef John Bex, and he'll show you how to work with this sweet stuff. So how long have you been a pastry chef for?
Let's see, my family had a business, so from the age of 15.
Oh.
So my work in life has been pastry, pastry and more pastry.
So what gets you up every day?
I've never stopped loving what I do. Every day it's just a new challenge. I can't always say I've always worked in the greatest places, just because you're dealing with human beings, and the dynamics of working in a kitchen where there's lots of stress doesn't always, but the actual job and what I do making it is I've never been bored of what I do.
And what are you doing now besides bake?
My company, which I go into restaurants and hotels as a consultant, and I will help train or do seminars for pastry chefs, young and old, and help to expand their knowledge, to help a company increase their sales, and work with the front house staff, which is super important, to educate them in how to serve and sell a dessert, because that's very difficult nowadays with people's dietary problems and constraints and so on.
For your last meal, what would you finish off your meal with?
I'm a great lover of cheese, so if I was to choose one, it would be that pear and Stilton tart. That would just be perfect for me as a dessert. The pears are caramelized, and we have a green apple sorbet, and we have Stilton cheese in a cream mixture, and it's baked in the oven with the pear.
So what made you decide to put the different flavors the way you have presented them here? What was kind of the thought process?
It's unusual to match Stilton cheese as a dessert, but when you think of it as a cheese plate, it doesn't seem unreasonable.
That's right.
So I worked for a while on the different amounts of sugar and how I would cook the pear and the way it was flavored, and I thought of a pear sorbet, but then that was too much pear, so the green apple sorbet seemed to work perfectly, and this is what we came up with. So it's all about thinking about what works to the palate. So on that plate, without even realizing it, you have a crunch element, which is the shell, the nice creamy element of the Stilton cheese. It's really like a cheesecake, and we have the cold element with the sorbet. So that makes for a nice sort of, it's not too heavy, it's not overdone.
Now I remember watching you do a sugar demo back in school, and I was mesmerized, as well as the rest of the students in the class, at how you did this. Could you show us how to do a sugar demo?
Absolutely. So whenever we're ready, we'll go and try some sugar.
Let's go.
Okay.
So John, this is called what? Sugar sculpturing, sugar what? Sugar
well, when as professionals we describe this, we say we're going to make pulled sugar work or blown sugar work. We make it as a piece of art to show off the skill of the pastry chef. And when I worked in Europe, it was really just something we did every day. It was the hotel, different hotels in Europe I worked, it was part of our daily work. Is it easy to do? Yes. Does it take a long time to master it? Absolutely. Okay. But you know what? Nothing that's worth something you can get straight away. Right. And when I teach people, they get a little frustrated, and then we do it again and again, and then afterwards they start to make things. And it's quite amazing how quickly they can master the art.
How do you get started? What's step number one?
We have our nice pan that is good heat retention. We put in our sugar, we put this on the heat, and when it starts to warm up, the sugar crystals will melt, and it becomes what we call in the trade a sugar simple syrup.
Simple syrup. Yep.
Simple syrup. The simple syrup then comes to the boil, and we add to it corn syrup, and this is stirred in. And once the water is evaporated, we now have a sugar syrup that is a liquid form, almost like glucose.
Okay.
All right. And then we pour it onto these mats, and when it solidifies, it then takes on this sort of opaque looking, almost like glass, but not as clear. And to work with it, when it becomes soft, it is malleable. And when you stretch the sugar or light reflection, we stretch the sugar crystals, and as we stretch them, they go from being opaque to almost a semi-solid, and then to a solid. I thought, first of all, I'll make a rose.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start off with a rose. So we call this the bud.
Wow, that flower's really coming together.
So I'm going to make a little leaf. If I'm doing this for a function where people are going to look at it and they might actually not realize that it's sugar, I'll sometimes spray it with perfume rose, because then they'll come up and smell the rose. So there we go.
Sculptures can come in many different formats, and some are edible as well as beautiful. Pastry chefs such as John Beck's are artists as well. And it's all right here on Grand River Living.